Hello everybody, welcome back to an edition of the EcoStruxure Machine Expert HVAC. I'm your host, Leandro Humada, and in this video what we're going to see is how we can use the Modbus Tcp function blocks in order to read and write information to a server using the M172. So let's go to the software. So far in the previous video we can see how to configure the Ethernet port. Okay, so just a quick recap. So in the BIOS parameter, we just need to configure the Ethernet port of the M172 and also the ports in order to access, okay, all the different ports that we have. By default, 21.85.02 in order to connect, but again, due to cyber security and all the stuff, you can disable if you are not going to use it. Then we just need to specify how we're going to use the Ethernet port. Server only or client server. In our case, as the PLC is going to be the master or client in this way, we just need to define client server. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is to use the Modbus TCP function blocks that we have. So if we go to library target blocks, inside here we have these function blocks that basically are similar to what we saw in Modbus Serial, are the different ways that we have to access information on the server, okay, based on the type of register we're going to use. So for example, if we're going to use a holding register for reading, then you have this one, then you have this one and this one. Then if you're using a input register, okay, you have this, and if you're using a code, you have this. If you don't really know what to use, no problem. So go to properties. If you're able to see property windows, view, tool windows, and here you have property windows. Okay, so here we give it a idea. For example, this one, sys mb mtcp fc01. You have coil read, O2 input read, O3 holding register read, input register, call write, register to write, call to write, and holding register to write. This one is some multiples. This one is just one holding register. And this one is to read multiple holding register in case we want it. So something very important here is that which one we need to use. In order to understand which one we need to use, it is important to read the hardware manual of the server that you're going to read information or write information to. Otherwise, we are blind and we don't know what to read or write. So that's the first thing. Check on the other side the register that you're going to use and which Modbus function are allowed to use. Okay. So for example, in this particular case, on the M172, if you want to access multiple registers using the function 23, I believe, so read and write, that is not allowed on the M172. Okay, so you need to be careful which functions you're going to use. Okay, so what I'm going to do in this particular case is to use a Modicon M2.2 as a server. Okay, so I believe I have everything working fine. So let's see. So this is the project for the M172. As you can see over here, this is the IP address. So we need to be in the same network. Okay, I'm not going to that details. I assume that you already know that needs to be in the same network and different IP address. So login. And now I'm going to use this PLC as a server. The controller, just upload what is in there. Okay, good. So I have my database. Okay, I'm going to read information. This information I'm going to write to this position. So I have MW50 to MW54 and MW60 to MW64 in order to write this part. So what I need now is to specify this on the M172 how to read this data. Okay, so let's go here. So what I'm going to do is to create some variables over here. So for example, it's going to be MW50, for example, M2.2 MW50, and let's say it's going to be the temperature 01. So different temperatures, okay, for different things. So it's going to specify in this way. So it's going to be helpful for the next thing. Now you're going to use the M221 in a specific area in order to make like a set point. So set point 1. Okay, so I'm going to copy and paste. We have the add multiple path. I'm not going to use it because I don't want to, but you have the possibility in case you want it to. 3 and 4. So I can create some variables in order to use it. So now what I'm going to do is to create a project, new program. I'm going to use function blocks, sr com eth, and now let's see. So imagine right now I put time. Okay, so in order to use the function blocks, just read drag and drop, and that's it. But let's pay attention to the properties of these blocks. So if you take a look here, we have inputs and we have an output. This output will give me the feedback of the status about the communication that I'm doing. So here we have all the codes, and pay attention to this one, the 17. Function not executed due to try to call in time, falling in timed. In time, it means that is called this function block in a time task, and that will give me an error. So what we need to do is to change this. So I had added already here. So we need to remove it. Add. I believe we just drag and drop, but let's do it this way and select this one. So now I shouldn't be getting the error 17. Okay. But if there is any error or something, we should be able to have it here. So going to create diag for reading. This is going to be a uint. So I'm going to use it over here. Okay. So the FC03, let's use over here, is to read holding register. Okay, so that will read the position MW50 that I want. Now I'm going to create another one over here in order to write information. So in order to write multiple registers, not just one, I need to use this one. So drag and drop. And again, you have here the time task. So I'm going to create another one. Yeah, here we are. Great. Okay, so now what we need to do, now that we have finished this, is to complete all these parameters that we have. Okay, so here the IP address, we need a specific way to do this. So we just need an array of byte. So if we go here, so it's going to be IP, so an array, IP address M2.1. It's going to be byte. Here array 0 to 3. And the init value, I don't remember how to complete this. So I have this, and to be honest, I don't remember how to complete this part. So I'm gonna leave it as it, and then I will manually add the values. Okay. So what you just need to do now is to use the add the add is like the pointer. So what we need to do is to use the ADR, and we have two ways to doing it. So the first one is using the expression ADR. Okay, and let's do it this way over here. Add expression. No. ADR, and then I'm going to use this. So Control C. And that's it, because I need a pointer to that. Okay. So this is one way to do it. The other way is to use the ADR function block. So if we go to operations and blocks, miscellaneous ADR. Oops. Let's move it around. Okay, here you're into space, and it will change that. And here I just need to add this. Okay, these are the two ways to doing it. Okay, now unit ID is the like identifier that we have. So by default, everything's going to be 255. So I'm going to add that here. 255. 255. So if we just show you that, so in the M2.2 you have the possibility to change this. So for example, if I want a different area of memory, I can select enable this and select a unit ID different. So I have a different holding registers in order to access information to. But in this case, if I don't select this, I can access to the standard one, okay, and use 255 in order to access to this. So it's important to know the IP address and the unit ID of the device you're trying to read and write information to. So here the base is going to be the starting point. Okay, so we can specify this at 50 because it's going to be the MW50. But as you saw in the previous video when using Modbus serial, sometimes you just need to add or subtract 1 to the information, okay, in order to access the information that you want. So first I'm going to leave it by MW50. So you're going to see that it's going to be displacement, okay, but I'm going to show you that, and then we're going to sort it out. So here the number, I'm going to read 5 registers. The offset here is the buffer that we're going to use, okay, and here the timeout. The timeout it's in milliseconds. So here, if we go back to target blocks, here is timeout is in milliseconds. So let's say I'm going to use 3 seconds. I just need to use 3000. Okay, similar to what I have configured over here. I'm going to paste it over here. Good, and instead of 50, it's going to be 60. I know that this was wrong, but I'm going to show you that we just need to add 1. Now, we need to create a buffer. So the PLC knows where to put the data that's going to read and where the data that's going to write information to. So we need to create the buffer. So write buffer for reading. This is going to be an array of int, if I'm not wrong. Let's double check. Array of int. Okay, so again we just need to use the expression of the ADR. So here the array is going to be the amount of variables. So I'm going to read 5. So the size is going to be 5. So it's going to be 0 to 4. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 elements. And again, similar to this for writing. Okay, So here, expression ADR R buffer RD. Good. And now if I don't want to do this, you always use the ADR, that in the R is over here, operator and blocks, miscellaneous ADR. And if I to connect this space, and that's it. So now just drag and drop here, and that's it. So let's have a look if it works or not. Okay. So just go to the watch, put it over here, connect, and see what happened. Hopefully there is no error at all. So you see the code is different, so we need to connect, download. So here we have some errors. Invalid response time. Okay, it's fine. And you know why? Because here the address is not configured. I haven't configured it yet. Everything is in 0. Okay, and the other thing is that I always executing this. So what I usually do here is not mandatory, but this is what I usually do, is to create this enable and enable output. So by doing this, okay, you are in control when to execute this. Command read, and I'm going to add another one, cmd writing. So in this way, I'm in total control when I need to execute this. And what I usually do is to have like a sequence. So I don't allow this to run all the time together. No, I just make a sequence just to not overload the buffer of the PLC when trying to communicate to. So now that we have downloaded this is okay because it's the previous value. Now if I go over here and write and put the diagnostic, then I'm going to use the command for writing, I'm going to use the buffer, and I'm going to use the diagnostic for writing. Okay, so let's have a look. Now that I activate this, it's true and it has the same, and it's okay. You know why? Because I haven't configured the IP address yet. So here I just drag and drop, and I use over here 192.168.1.221 format. No, unsign format, sign format, sign. Okay, so this is the IP address now. Now let's try it once again. And there we go. I read information, which is good. So here is the information, but it's not the right one. It's not the one I want because it's like move it to one position because I need to add one on this. So if you take a look and reading, it's okay. It's working fine, but not as expected. So if I have the MW49 insert, here you can see the 88. Okay, so I need to add one to the position that I'm reading. Okay, because it starts with 0 base and 0 base or 1 base, the Modbus on the M172. So I need to add one over here. So if we change this, so we're going to connect to 51 and this one 61. So that's always important to start checking with this, which is the the initial address that you need. Okay, just for checking. Okay, now you can see a reading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is the information that I want to. So I'm going to delete this one, move 11, 22, and now if I remove the reading, $33, you see it doesn't read it until I execute this. Okay, now what happened with the writing? So the writing area is going to be here. So I'm going to have these values, everything 0. This is going to be the writing area. So if I'm the M2.2 so I'm going to specify 147, 258, 369. Okay, you get the idea. So now as soon as I click this one and proceed, those information is going to be 0. Okay, and if I go back here, it's 0. And if I try to change this, it's going to go back to 0 because the information on the M172 is sent to the M2.1. Now, if I want to modify these values, I'll just assign 147, 255, 753, and then if I go back here to M2.1, you can see they're writing information too, which is fine. It's good. Okay, so this is how you can use the function block, okay, to read and write information. Remember to use the IP address, define that, and so on and so on. Now, what happens if I want to use that information in my code? How I can do that? Easy. So let's disconnect and add something here. Maybe the order is not the right one, but I'm going to use it this way. So let's have a true here. True, I'm going to use from the library the move, Ctrl C, Ctrl V. I'm going to link this to this one, this one to this one. Okay, so we need to access to the information. So I have already created those variables. So I'm going to use this one in the code. So the temperature, I'm going to read the temperature of this one. So I'm going to put it over here. And I want to write this into the M2.1. So we need to access to the arrays. So reading and writing. Now, as I mentioned before, this is an array. We need to access to one specific element of the array. In order to do that, we need to access to the element by using the brackets. Simple as that. Okay, so remember that you have to 0 to 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. They are the 5 elements. Okay, and they are in order. So this is what we need to do. Probably in this case, I just testing it with you. It wouldn't be the best. So this one needs to be executed after this, otherwise you're gonna receive the previous scan. And this one, it needs to be executed before this. Okay, so that is basically the thing. So now that we have this, let's have a look and connect and download this. So you get the full picture now. And this one probably, if a set point, it would be good to be an EEPROM, but in this case, just a status. You already saw that in my getting started videos on the software. So here you can see and read it 11, and it's going to the 11. Now, if I want to change this on the first one, I'm going to use the 456. The 456 now will be in the NW60 on the M2.1. 456. Now, if I want to use, I don't know, temperature 22.3, There we go. I send the information back to it. Okay. And there is no error at all. So in order to diagnostic this, it's important to have this variable uint. And in order to understand what is the real problem, we just have to look over here, properties, and see which is the error message. Okay. So this is how we can use the Ethernet port of the M172 to read and write information to a server that we have in our network, okay, using the Modbus TCP function blocks that we have in the software. So thank you very much for watching this video, and I see you on the next one.